Right there you can see here the edges go up around the edge of the bottom of the Power Wagon cab, as well as the back there. Hey guys, welcome back to Revolution XRC. Today we're going to continue on with this Element Enduro kit build. Today we're going to look at some aftermarket parts by Rock Pirates RC. I know it's been a while since my last video on this Element Enduro Builders kit. Since my last video in that build series, I have not done much. As you can see, nothing has changed at all. I've been busy with a ton of other projects, and I'm finally getting back to this build, and I would like to add some new parts to it. Now for this build, some of the products that I'll be using are from Rock Pirates RC. Here you see their battery tray. Here's their rear shock towers right here. They look pretty cool. I'll also be using these rock sliders that Rock Pirates RC makes. They fit bodies like the Power Wagon. You'll see they're narrower, and the way that they bend up kind of suits the Power Wagon body. So I will be using these to finish off that look. Now I'll put a link to these products in the description below, and we'll get started with the rear shock towers. Here's a closer look at the shock towers. Really nice, really cool design. And we'll go ahead and put them on. Now as of this moment, I will not be needing the rear body posts, as I'm only going to be running the Power Wagon cab. I've not decided what I'm going to do with the rear yet, but I know I won't be needing body posts. So we'll go ahead and remove these. Now you'll notice the stock shock towers use countersunk screws. You will not be using these same countersunk screws for these shock towers. So you'll be using you'll pretty much be using button heads. I'm guessing it's going to be 3x12 or 3x10. Alright, so I've got some 3x12 button head screws here, and that's what I'm going to be using. Now you'll notice that the holes on these shock towers are larger than the 3mm screws that I'm going to be using. So usually what you would do is you would use a nut on the other side. So if you were to attach the shock tower, you would add a nut on the other side. It looks like you're going to need a space or two as well to space it from the edge of the shock tower. Now I'm not just going to worry about putting the shock back onto the shock tower just yet. I've got some plans for it, so I'm going to take care of the other shock tower first, and then we'll see what we're going to do as far as mounting the top of the shocks to these Rock Pirates shock towers. Okay, I've got both shock towers taken care of. Now let's look at what we need to mount these We're definitely going to need a spacer to space between the shock tower and the top of the shocks. As soon as I find the pivot ball here. Okay, so we'll probably need at least maybe a 5mm spacer or 4mm. Let me test that out. Here's a 4mm spacer right here. Washer, spacer, whatever you want to call it. We'll definitely need to change the screws. I just want to see if this will give us the clearance we need. And it looks like 4mm would probably be enough, but I think you'd probably want to go 5mm just to be safe. Okay, the stock Enduro builder's kit uses 3x16 cap screws at the top of the shocks right here. These are too short for what we need, so I'll be replacing these. And ideally we'd replace these with 3x25s with the way I'm going to be setting them up, but I only have a 3x20 here, so that'll have to do, or 3x30, sorry. And what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be using a 3x30, then adding a 1mm spacer and also a 4mm spacer for a total of 5mm of spacing between the top of the shock and the shock tower. And that should give you that space and clearance that the shock needs from the top of the shock tower. Now regarding how I'm going to mount these screws here, I have here a 70mm link. Now the distance between the top of the two shock towers, as far as the inside goes, is roughly around 73mm. I do have a 75mm link that was too long, and I tried 70mm with 2mm spacers on each side, and that was also too long. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be using the 70mm link with 1.5mm spacers on each side for a total of 73mm. And I'll be threading the shock towers into these. So we got one side. We'll go ahead and take care of the other side. Now here's the tricky part. Since once you got one side of the shocks in through the link, you're going to have to hold this spacer in place in order to get the other side on. Just kind of slide it in between. Oh, lost it. And that's the tricky part of it. You have to somehow hold it in place while you put this screw through. Stay with me. There we go. Now you've got two screws right in. That side button up? Yeah, these 3x30 screws I have might be a tad long. I needed 3x25s. I don't have any on hand, but you get the idea. Here, now you've got the shock mount setup where you've got this 5mm spacer, making sure that the shocks are spaced correctly from the shock towers. And you've got this link here giving support to the two shock towers. So that takes care of these Rock Pirates rear shock towers setup. There, and I like my rear shocks leaned forward a bit, and that's why I have them set up that way. Alright, with the shock towers taken care of, now we'll look at adding these rock sliders. And to do that, we'll first need to remove the old ones. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Now I believe these are 3x8s. You'll also need shorter screws for these two ends here for the skid, because you no longer have this plastic piece here in between. So you'll probably look for, I'm guessing, 3x6s. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, I've got these M3x6s here. Once again, these are M3x8s. So we'll use the M3x6s instead, and that should go in nicely without interfering with the links on the other side. There you go. And another one right here. Alright. And as for the skid itself, we just reuse the existing screws. There we go. That's one side finished. Let's just double check. Tightness. Good. Good. Alright, let's move on to the other side. Okay, we've got the old sliders removed, and let's go ahead and attach the links back on first. Once again, we'll need to use two M3x6s instead of the M3x8s, since we don't have that plastic in between the screws and the chassis rail anymore. And we're ready to put on the other slider. Let's just double check everything. Well, that goes with the nut, so that's okay. Alright, and the rock sliders are added, mounted, and done. So that is another Rock Pirates part on this chassis. And you'll notice that you no longer have this receiver box here. You'll just want to double side tape your receiver onto this rock slider, and we'll see how it fits this power cap or power wagon body. You can see here, well, I've got the body post in the way, but so the sliders hug the power wagon cab. Right there, you can see here the edges go up around the edge of the bottom of the power wagon cab, as well as the back there, the angles up. So it should sit like so. and it's just the perfect complement to this power wagon cab. Right there. Alright, the next piece we're going to tackle here is the Rock Pirates RC battery tray. Now this could be used with both the SCX-10-2 and the Element Enduro. You'll notice that this has a little protrusion here. That's mainly for an attachment with the SCX-10-2. I believe they have a servo mount that this will attach to. If you don't need this, you could kind of bend it forward for the Element, or you can just leave it as is. There's a close look at the battery tray. A very nice piece. It's got their logo laser cut out from the center. We'll start by removing the 4 screws that hold the battery tray in. Now the stock tray does use countersunk screws. The Rock Pirates RC battery tray does not have countersunk holes, so I'll be using cap head screws, or sorry, button head screws. Alright, here is the battery tray removed. We're going to remove these battery straps as well. I'm going to be using these M3x10 button head screws. And that's pretty much it. Now I will find some way to secure these battery straps. They're not secured right now, but there's definitely a way I could probably find a way to secure it down here. So I will go ahead and do that. Another thing is, if you are using soft packs, since these are button head screws that protrude out of the flat surface of the tray, you probably want to put some padding here on each side just to raise the battery a little bit. If you're using hard packs, you're perfectly fine. But if you're using a soft pack, maybe use something like felt on the sides just to raise it up a little, just to prevent your soft pack from getting dented by these screws. So with this Rock Pirates RC battery tray, you could probably get away with just using one strap. I would just slide it down the middle right there. And there you go. You have a battery strap that you can use now. And that about does it for this part of the Element Enduro Builders Kit Build series. In this part of the series, we added Rock Pirates RC parts, their rear shock towers, their rock sliders for the power wagon, as well as their battery tray. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell for future updates on this Element Enduro Builders Kit Build series. Thanks for watching.